Hello, everybody. Welcome to Start Something Big Radio, and thank you so much for inviting me into your life tonight. I'm your host, Gwen Elliott, and I am just super psyched about today's show. What we aim to do on the show is to help you start what you're meant to do in the world while connecting you to something bigger than yourself. And you know what? It's a little bit different this week. I'm actually coming to you live from a hotel room in Vancouver. And I'm in Vancouver this week because I'm hosting a music festival called the Spring Show. And you know what? This is week 3 of the radio show. And I realize how committed I am and our team is to really put this show on the air. Doesn't matter if we're thousands of kilometers away from the studio, we will do it from a hotel room. But really, I've just been loving the conversations that we've been having on the show so far. In our first week, we featured Katie Zapiri, the founder of the Make Your Mark movement. And last week, we featured Sarah Lynn Cochant, the show producer for the television show Stephen and Chris, which is on in millions of households across North America. A true honor to have those two ladies on. In week 3, I'm starting to get the hang of this. I'm starting to get into some show rituals. So my first one is I'm set up here with multiple drinks, my 3 favorite drinks in the world. Of course, I've got the water going on. I have recently become a big fan of kombucha. And I've got my Synergy kombucha that's meant to rejuvenate, restore, revitalize, replenish, and regenerate. Hello, amazing. But then here's the challenge. My coffee addiction. I'm sitting here with an Americano with a bit of almond milk in it, and I'm wondering if it cancels out the good effects of the kombucha. Any of my nutrition friends, if you have any tips on that, please let me know. I know one of the people I really look up to, Gabrielle Bernstein, who is an incredible author. She's 3 books out. She has recently been tweeting and Instagramming pictures about her getting off of her coffee addiction. And, she's really giving me some inspiration to do the same. But I know the key is you have to be willing before you actually can do it. And I know I'm doing a sugar cleanse right now, and it's day 18 of the refined sugar just being cut out. And it only happened because I was really willing to do that. And I know with coffee, that will be coming soon because, hey, nobody likes to be staying up super late wired on caffeine, but that addiction, it's just so strong. So anyway, if you have any tips on that, please let me know. All right, so without any further ado, it's time to get to our interview with our guest today. We are interviewing a social entrepreneur named Michael Eisen. And Michael Eisen is the founder of the Youth Wellness Network and co-author of an incredible book called Empowered Youth, A Father and Son's Journey to Conscious Living. Now, I had the chance to have a conversation with Michael, and you will see in this conversation, you will hear the passion literally coming out of your audio device. I mean, it is just incredible to hear this man talk. And, he's a speaker, and he does workshops in high schools and universities and public schools. And I really encourage you to check out his website, but I'll tell you all the details in the interview. But without further ado, here's my interview with Michael Eisen. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, my pleasure. It's an absolute joy to be interviewed by one of my dear friends.
Oh, thank you. Well, my first question, Michael, is just tell everybody what it is that you do.
How long do we have?
As long as you need.
Well, I run an organization called the Youth Wellness Network. And what I do is I create and implement wellness programs in schools all across North America, really catering towards addressing the main issues that youth face today. Everything from bullying to lack of self-esteem to stress and anxiety to mental and emotional health and well-being to who am I and what am I supposed to do with my life, and really creating sustainable programs that get to the root cause of what the issues are and really addressing them at the root and then providing practical strategies and tools and practices that gives youth of all ages the ability to build that inner resiliency so that when they come up to face challenges in their lives, they're able to navigate their way around it with a lot more ease.
And I mean, that is such an incredible organization. And I'm sure a lot of people, when they hear what you do, they're very inspired. And but I'm sure a lot of people would be very fascinated to learn how you started this organization. So could you tell us about your beginnings?
Sure. I mean, before before I even started the organization, I think the most important thing is that everything that I do I call myself a social entrepreneur, but I'm also a speaker and I'm also an author. Everything that I do, everything that I speak about is all an extension of who I am. So I think that's one of the most important things when you're starting something big is not just to find something that there's an opportunity that exists, but to find something that you're so passionate about that your work becomes an extension of who you are. And so for me, I went through a lifetime full of challenges in the first 19 years of my life, and it actually ended up with a breakdown at the age of 19 in my second year of university. And that breakdown actually ended up turning into a breakthrough thanks to uh, one of the most unlikely of sources showing up for me in the form of inspiration, and that was my father. And so he showed up for me and provided all these resources and new ways of thinking and new ways of acting and new ways of living because he had gone through a huge transformation of his own. And it was in living these principles and really applying these principles to my life that I was able to overcome the challenges with depression and sickness and being bullied and having little to no self-esteem and confidence. And the list goes on and on and on. And really, the inspiration behind why I started this organization was that honestly, when I was 19, if my dad hadn't shown up for me and really provided this new way of thinking and this new way of living and really empowered me to embody that myself, I wouldn't be here today. And I recognized that there really wasn't a lot of resources and programs that are really specifically catered towards youth specific, even younger youth, but even in that peak age of your late teens, early 20s, there's nothing that is relatable and accessible at that age. I mean, there's a lot of mental health programs, and you can go find a counselor on your university campus, but you're so afraid of being judged that you don't even want to go get help. And so there needed to be programs and resources that were applicable and relatable. And so for me, my inspiration became, well, I'm just going to share all that I've learned and all that I've applied to my life with anybody under the age of 25 that's willing to listen and that's willing to, engage in creating some kind of positive change in their lives. And then that idea just started to create the Youth Wellness Network. Actually, it was about 3 years ago in April that the first idea came to me. And I remember I was literally waking up, and oftentimes in the morning I'll press the snooze button and I'll do almost go into a meditative state in between snoozes. And so I'm in this meditation and I hear this voice and it says, well, what are you creating? And the answer was a network. And then from that network, I just saw the big letters YWN, and then it filled in and it said Youth Wellness Network. And I sat with that for a couple minutes and I just jumped out of bed and I just started writing down all of these ideas of what was coming to me. Now, I mean, from what I started with that idea 3 years ago to what it is right now has completely evolved and completely shifted, but the intention of that is the same. And so with that idea, I just started sharing. I just started talking to anybody that was interested in listening to me. I literally made my full-time job for 3 months, having coffee 3 times a day. Yeah, I know I was wired. It was speaking with people that were willing to listen about my idea. And every single piece of advice I got was positive. Everything that I heard was, keep going, this is needed, this is important. And that was the fuel to continue to grow what I was doing. And I just want to address something. I know you got to ask questions, but I could probably just keep talking. One of the misconceptions that I think exists is that when you've got a really good idea that you're not supposed to share it, that you're actually supposed to keep it within because you're afraid that somebody else might take it. I personally, can I swear on your show?
Yes.
I think that's bullshit because I think that you're giving the message that you're not actually able to step in and make that idea happen. I think when you have an idea, you need to share it, and you need to share it so much that it grows and it actually turns into something even bigger than you even thought. And that's what gives it the fuel to continue going forward.
Well, that is such a huge, challenge I think a lot of people face when they have that big dream or that big idea, but they're just not sure who to share it with. And I think that's really brave of you to have coffee with people 3 times a day and just share about this idea that you have. Who do you talk to? If you've got a dream and you're a little bit embarrassed or you're not sure who to talk to, who would you suggest people go to?
Well, you want to find people who are doing something relatively similar, who have already taken an idea and put it into action. You want to talk to people who you know are going to be interested in what you're doing because they're doing work in a similar field. Uh, and you want to talk to people who are open to new ideas. Like, one of the worst things that you could do is go speak to closed-minded people who don't want to actually, who maybe in some way, shape, or form have the yearning to start something themselves, but never had the courage to do it. You don't want to go talk to those people because most likely they're going to tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't or can't do what you're doing. You want to talk to the people who are already doing it. You want to talk to the people who are interested in the field. So for me, I'm, bringing inspiration and empowerment and wellness into schools. So I talked to anybody that was interested in education, anybody that was interested in wellness and well-being, and anybody that was interested in anybody that had started something of their own, some youth-oriented project or some social enterprise. I really started interacting with the social entrepreneur community and got a lot from that because there was a lot of hype and energy and passion going around. A lot of it just fueled. I actually found one of my first mentors in the social enterprise community and really helped fuel the creation of just an idea, but turning it into actual programs.
That was actually something I was going to ask you was, are there any specific mentors that helped you or any that you currently have today that you'd want to talk about and how they've really helped shape your journey?
Well, first and foremost, the most important mentor that I've had in my life is my father. And he's more of a coach than a mentor, but he's also a friend and he's also my father. And I mean, without him, I wouldn't be here. Without him, I wouldn't have overcome a lot of those challenges. Without him, there would be no Youth Wellness Network. Without him, there wouldn't be the me that you see right now. So he was an absolute integral part of me making the shift and stepping into the realization that I could create something different. I could create a different life. I could create different ideals. I could create different experiences. And he really gave me that power, and I took that power and I stepped into that power. So he was an integral part of my personal growth and in my personal development. Other individuals who came in that really helped me take an idea and put it into action. A good friend of mine by the name of Asaf, he was really big in the social entrepreneur world. He ran an organization called the Young Social Entrepreneurs of Canada. And he was great because we would just creatively talk about, what youth need and how can you actually find a niche that would provide an idea and a program that would fit within what youth need. I also sought out help from Mars, which is an organization that's based in Toronto that is like almost like a house for startup entrepreneurs. And I was a member of their social innovation generation, and I got great help from Cheryl May, who was the former head of social innovation generation. I was only there for a few months, but they gave me exactly what I needed in terms of really structuring and creating a monetization plan for what I was doing. So, how do you find those mentors? I'm a believer that you set the intention, you put it out there, and they actually find you. But you have to play an active role of being open enough to welcome them in. So have the conversation, share with people, tell people you're looking for this, and most likely you'll be guided towards the exact person you need to speak to.
That's such an interesting idea of you put it out there and you'll be guided to that right person. Can you tell me about your beliefs in, I guess, the universe? This is something that's really interesting. I'm learning about it, trying to figure it all out, and how, there's something greater than yourself that's kind of guiding your path. Tell us about that. What is this all about? Please give me your insights.
This is a whole other interview. But, my idea, what I call the universe, you can call it whatever you want to call it. You can call it the universe. You can call it spirit. You can call it your soul. You can call it God. You can call it the sky. You can call it life. But there is something bigger out there. I truly believe that there's something bigger out there that is beyond even human comprehension, beyond the mind's comprehension. It's something that we tap into through our heart. And what it is, it's having this faith and this trust in this idea that life or the universe actually is looking out for us. I transformed this belief that I had when I was a kid, and that was life happens to me. So I was the victim. I was the victim, that everything's just happening to me and there's nothing that I can do about it. There's a lot of people out there that believe that life just happens and you actually have no control over what happens and how you react to it. I believe that life happens for us, not to us. And there's always this opportunity for us to step into what's happening, to truly learn, to truly integrate, and to truly grow from it. And that actually fuels this faith that there's something out there that is actually guiding us into where we're supposed to be. But this cannot be tapped into from your logic. It cannot be tapped into from your thinking. It has to be tapped into from a heart-centered place. So a big process in order to really listen to or feel or experience this guidance, so to speak, we need to really learn to slow down our minds. And when we slow down our minds, we get to this place of stillness. We get to this place of peace within, and we're actually able to trust this greater power that cannot be defined. And I'll give you an example. You know, some people call it intuition, right? So I've built my business on intuition. You know, I have gone against the grain of like mapping things out and planning things out. And even in our conversations, when you're like, what's your 5-year plan? It's like, I don't have one. I have a vision for where I'm going, but I don't know the time frame in which that's going to actually unfold. And I don't want to, because I believe that creates rigidity in the way that I'm operating. And I want to operate from a flexible place, an open place. So just an example of that. So, Gwen, the first time I met you, I had this intuitive hit that in some way, shape, or form, you know, we were going to work together. And I didn't know when, and I didn't know how that was going to go about. And I let go of trying to figure that out. And here we are, pretty much 6 months after the point, and you started doing some work with me. And so it's like, I'm not going to figure out how it's going to come. I'm just going to trust that guidance, and I'm not going to map it out. I'm not going to figure it out. I'm just going to go with it. I'll end on this. We have an opportunity to really trust the direction in which life leads us in. Or we have an opportunity to create in our minds how we think we're going to create things and how things are going to show up. And we can be so set on focused on getting in the direction where we think, which is mapped out from our mind, where we're going to go. And it's like we've got blinders on. And it's like, I'm only going here. I'm only going here. But by doing that, you're missing what's going on out here. So trusting the universe, trusting life is about taking the blinders off. It's about not creating an expectation or an attachment to how things are going to look and how things are going to unfold. And it's about trusting that one thing leads to the next thing. Like when I first started this organization, I was convinced I'd only be working with university students. And I had to let go of that. And then I was taken in this direction. I'm working with high schools. And now I'm working with elementary schools. And now I've made my way back. And now I'm actually working with university students. But I had to detach from the idea that that is how it was going to go. And I had to trust where life was nudging me to go.
Man, what would you say, though, you know, for those moments that you just don't feel like you can trust, like you're really like hanging on to your vision? Because, you know, growing up, you're told you're supposed to have goals, you're supposed to know where you're going. How do you deal with that, especially when that pressure is coming from your parents?
Interesting question. So to me, those are two different questions. So how do you trust in the face of chaos?
Yes.
You know, it's interesting. I think number one, it really requires practice. It requires daily practice. So for me, it's like, so for example, read the book called the Artist's Way. What is it? I think it's called The Artist's Way, right? And so they talk about really doing the work. You know, we need to do the work on ourselves. Doing the work on ourselves meaning we need to transform the thoughts and the belief systems that are holding us back, that are telling us that that's the way that life needs to be run. But the question is that serving us in the best possible way? I always like to say, pull a Dr. Phil on yourself. Ask yourself how it's working for you.
Yes.
How is that working for you?
That's good.
You know, I'll say that to myself all the time. It's like, you know, I've got this belief and I'm so stuck and this is the way it has to be, but it's not, the doors aren't opening. You know, it's like doors aren't opening, but I'm convinced it has to go that way. Well, I'm just going to keep driving into closed doors. And then I say, well, how's that working for you, Michael? And yes, I do have dialogue with myself. I encourage that. If you want to start something big, you got to have dialogue with yourself. And I say, how's that working for you? I said, well, you know what? Things aren't really going in the way that I want them to. Okay, well, now I got to take a step back and I got to question everything. I got to question those beliefs. And I got to ask myself, is this my truth or is this someone else's? Is this my truth or is this my parents' truth? Just because my parents see life has to operate in a certain way does not mean that I have to take that on myself. And it requires the utmost amount of courage and passion and persistence and faith in order to go against the grain. Nobody said that walking the road less traveled was going to be easy. But when you take that path, it's like something happens in your life. It's like something clicks. Something that you've never felt before. Something that's just like leading you in a direction that you could not have even imagined. And how do you trust? Well, you've got a choice. You either trust or you don't trust. And the reality is that if you have absolutely no idea of what the future holds, I've embraced the fact that I cannot predict what the future holds. Okay? I've embraced that fact. So that's my reality. So now I'm faced with a choice. And my choice is fear or faith.
Wow. So you've got two options.
I've got two options. One makes me feel like shit, and one makes me feel amazing. One makes me feel like I'm tiny, and like I'm small, and like I can't make a difference in this world. And one makes me feel invincible. One makes me feel like anything is possible. One makes me feel that whatever this idea is that is coming from here and coming through here, I actually can create. And so it's a simple choice. I choose faith. I choose faith when life shits on me. I choose faith when everything's in chaos, because when you go through the chaos, you will always find clarity. There is always clarity waiting for you when you move through the chaos. But if you get stuck in the chaos, you won't find that clarity.
That is beautiful. I can actually feel your passion coming through the screen. It's awesome. So when you're in that chaos, for example, when you're at McGill, when you're in university and the world was coming down on you, you were feeling depressed and just stuck, and how do you move through that chaos when you're clear, you're in that state of stress and anxiety?
Well, for one, I needed to, for me, and I don't think that this is the case for everybody, I really don't, but I needed to hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. I needed to reach the capacity of the depth of how deep I could get myself into this shit. Wow. For me to actually come from a state of desperation, saying I need to change something because this cannot be what life is about. But I truly believe that if we learn these lessons and we apply these concepts and these tools that I teach about the power of our mind and understanding that our thoughts create our reality, and every thought that you think creates the words that you speak, and every word that you speak creates the actions that you take, and every action that you take creates your experiences. So if your experiences are ultimately created from your thoughts, then we need to go within our mind and we need to take inventory. And we need to take a look at, are our thoughts negative or positive? Are they beating us down or are they building us up? And a great way to do that, something practical for all your listeners out there, is to do a thoughts journal. Once a day, 5 minutes a day, just dump everything that's going on in your head and write it down on a piece of paper. Get yourself a nice little journal. Create your sacred space. Not writing your experiences, but what's going on in your head. Write your thoughts down. And allowing those thoughts to come through you, number one, is incredibly therapeutic. But then number two, look at whether those thoughts are negative or positive and identify them and then switch the negative ones to positive ones. I honestly, truly believe that the way to true resilience, the way to work your way through the chaos, is understanding and comprehending the power of the mind and really harnessing that and really bringing the awareness to be able to make a different choice for you to actually create change in your life, because awareness creates choice and choice creates change. So you become aware of your thoughts. Once you're aware of them, you choose to do something different. You choose your thoughts don't choose you. So if you choose to be thinking more positive thoughts and you reinforce more positive thoughts, more uplifting thoughts, more thoughts that make you feel great, make you feel that life truly is a gift and a blessing and that anything truly is possible, then think about how that's going to funnel through your words and funnel through your actions and then ultimately create new experiences. And that's what gets you out of the shit. That's what gets you out of the chaos. It all starts up here.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, just I love that. Just being aware that you're even in the chaos. You see a lot of people who, they are so stressed out and they don't even realize, what's going on with them. And, you had a lot of, I think you had stomach problems and real, like, it was manifesting in your body. Can you tell
Yeah,
us
and
about that?
I think it manifests in everybody's body. It eventually will always show up in your body. For me, it showed up in my stomach. So it showed up with this sickness that nobody could actually diagnose, you know? And so what would happen is that I would get so stressed out. It was like one thought would lead to another thought, would lead to another thought, would create a story. And this story was all based on fear and all based on stress. And before I knew it, the ball in my stomach started building. And once the ball started building, more fear came and said, oh my God, I'm going to be sick. Oh my God, I'm going to be sick. And before I knew it, I was sick because that was what I was focusing on. I'm a firm believer as to what you focus on is what you create more of. So I was just focusing on the fear and the anxiety, and it created more fear and anxiety, which then created this ball in my stomach. So you will recognize that you're in a state of stress and chaos when it shows up in your body. You know, it might start with like tense shoulders and you feel that, tightness in your shoulders, and you might get headaches and you might get exhausted and tired, or you might actually just like be like, screw this, I don't want anything to do with it. You might get the whole give up syndrome, You might get stomach sickness like I got, You might start crying for no reason. It's going to show up in your body because you're suppressing something. And when you suppress something, it gains more aggression. And then it actually will start coming out in forms of dis-ease in your body or discomfort in your body. So become aware of how that stress is showing up in your body and use that as a sign, use that as like a message to say, holy crap, I got to do something different. If you don't have energy through the moon, if you're exhausted, if you're tired, you're upset, if you're feeling pain and discomfort or you're feeling sick, that is a sign. It is a sign that something's off. Your body's like a compass. It's a beautiful compass. It's always going to show you what's going on. Use it. Be aware of it.
You're absolutely reminding me of, which kind of segues into my next question about your book, Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, and how, in the back of that book, there's literally like, it says every ailment that you have and what is the problem or where that's coming from. And you have a really cool story about how this beautiful book even exists and how you were at a HayHouse event and like the universe conspired to work for you. And can you just share with us that story of how this all came to be, this book?
Well, the short form of that story is that I found myself at a HayHouse conference that they run every year for up-and-coming speakers and writers, and this was about 2.5 years ago.
Wait, how did you find yourself there? Did somebody invite you?
So, okay. So I actually, a family friend was introduced to the event director of HayHouse. And at the time, I was approaching HayHouse to sponsor my wellness events that I was running on university campuses. And their response from this event director was that, well, this isn't really aligned with what we normally do as a business, but I love what you're doing, and I'd love to invite you, no charge, to this event that we're running in Toronto 3 months from that point. So I go to the event. Really, at this point, I wasn't a speaker. I wasn't a writer. I was an event curator. I was a wellness event curator. And I go into this event, and I actually have a few months of getting really more clear on what my vision is and what this organization is when I get there. And I ended up posting on Shale Richardson, who's one of their authors who was running the event, on her Facebook page, just letting her know what it was that I did. And she happened to look at it, call me out in the middle of the conference, and have a 5-minute conversation with me back and forth, talking about how dynamic I am and the nature of the work that I was doing with youth and how it was needed. And so anyways, that caught Louise Hay's eye because she'd had this passion of working with young people for many years and had no idea how to get that message to them. And here was this guy who was actually working with young people. So I ended up connecting with her, got her email address. We went back and forth. And then I ended up actually having a meeting with her and Reed Tracy, who's the president of the company, 8 months later. Really was just telling them my story, thinking we were going to do some online programming. And before I knew it, Reed's like, well, there's your book, and I want you to write a book with your dad about your story. And so I came out of that day, Louise introducing me to other authors as the next HayHouse author. So I go into that meeting not even realizing that I'm a writer, and now all of a sudden I'm the next HayHouse author. And it was just all so synchronistic in how it went from there. Once I stepped into the idea that I am a writer and I'm an author, literally like within a month, the title of the book, what the book is about, started coming through, and we had an outline to them. And within 2 months, the contract was signed, and then 14 months later, the book's out on shelves. So, and it was just an amazing opportunity, and really, it was also an amazing opportunity to see how to trust life, because it's like if I'm not trusting the flow in which I'm being directed, I would not have a book that's on stands right now. I would not have been able to build an amazing relationship with Louise, where she literally took me under her wing like a mentor. You know, I would not have anything in where I am today. I wouldn't be a speaker. I wouldn't be speaking to thousands of people every year. I wouldn't be doing that. I would still be running events on university campuses, and quite frankly, not be nearly as happy and fulfilled as I am today.
That is awesome. It's kind of like such a series of little events that happened there that made it all come together. It's just wild, to really think about how that happened. And then the fact that you wrote the book with your dad. Okay, this just actually blows my mind. You're writing a book with a man who was the my way or the highway kind of guy, and you literally have to share what your upbringing was like. And he was reading it, I think, and was shocked by some of it. Tell us about this process.
Oh, well, writing a book with somebody, let alone your father, is quite the process, because it's like an artistic creation when you're writing the book. It's almost like you're giving birth to something. And so for me, the actual writing process, writing my story, was relatively easy. I felt like it was coming out of me. But the challenge really was more managing the relationship with my father. And because I got the book deal and he agreed to come along with it, there was this whole dynamic that happened between us, because there was a point where he wasn't writing as much as I was, and I was, we're on deadline, and I actually start getting into the play of controlling him. And so it's almost like karma coming back and biting me in the ass the years that he was controlling me. We had this huge emotional regression and role switch where now I'm controlling. And so we ended up having these huge blowout arguments in the process of writing this book, and it really broke apart our relationship and gave us the opportunity to rebuild it with an entirely new dynamic. And we thought we had an amazing relationship going into it, but really we were shown the areas in which we needed to shift from. And really what it was that for many years, he was the teacher and I was the student, and he was the father and I was the son. And now we were on the same level. And so we needed to shift the dynamic of that relationship in order for us to write a book together. And so not only that, but my sister was our editor and my mom was our. So it's like a whole family affair, and I'm the one who's got the relationship with the publisher. So I'm like the middle. I'm the messenger in a way, and I'm just trying to make everybody happy, which was quite the process. So it was an amazingly challenging yet so fulfilling process for our relationship. And just writing the book was a huge healing process in sharing parts of our story that neither of us even knew about each other. And, that was something that you said, that, he read parts of the book, my mom read parts of the book that she had no idea that I was going through when I was actually going through it. So it was a huge gift in really sharing that authentically and vulnerably with the world. And, of course, the best gift of all was the rebuilding and re-strengthening of my relationship with my dad, which is better than ever right now.
Oh, I love that. And I think of how many daughters and sons would love to have a relationship with their father. So everyone needs to get this book, read this book. We're actually going to give away a copy, and we'll talk about how we're doing that soon. But Michael, I am so close to being out of time with you, but I know I could obviously talk to you forever and get your passion and energy coming through the screen. 2 more quick questions. Number 1, what's your advice to people who are stuck, people who don't know what their passion is? Where do you suggest they start?
Well, okay, so I'm going to toot my own horn for a moment.
Of course.
And I actually run a mentorship program for that exact scenario. It's called the Empowered Living Mentorship Program that I've created for young adults between the ages of 24 and 35. And it's for those individuals who are at a place in their life where they're looking for something more and something bigger, but they don't know how to get there. And they're probably in a job that they just took because that's where their degree led them to, and they need to make money and they need to pay the bills. And, they're probably in a position where they're segmenting their life, where it's like they've got their work life, they've got their personal life, they've got their family life, everything's segmented. Nothing is actually in synchronicity with each other. And there's something stirring inside of them that says there's got to be something more to this. I'm not happy. I'm not passionate about the work that I'm doing. And I've got to find a way to mix my passion with making money doing it. Well, this mentorship program is just that. And it's guiding people through this process that I've created, which is called creating a life vision. And it's really getting beyond the whole rigidity of setting goals and moving more to intentions and moving more to redefining what it is that you truly want. And I walk them through that process, and it's really amazing to see the transformation because it opens us up to the possibility of everything. And it's like the whole idea that our mind thinks there's only a certain way to make money by doing certain things. And the society that we live in, you can start an internet business, make more money in 3 months than you could spending 6 years getting a degree in school. So the possibility right now is endless. We need to just have the courage to step out of the life that we're currently in and have the ability to go out and find some help and find some assistance and find that mentor who can help you. I don't care whether you use my mentorship program or you find a coach or you find somebody to talk to. It's incredibly important to find that assistance and that guidance to help you transition into a new way of living. So, I'd love to, anybody listening to this who's in that place, who's interested in the mentorship program, I'd love to have that conversation with you.
Absolutely, and we'll share the link because that is a very important conversation to have, because otherwise you will be somebody who kind of awakens to there is something bigger much later in life, and it's probably a lot more stressful, as your dad found out at 50, that it's like, oh my God, what do I do? And but you also are leading into my final question about your vision. I know you said at the very beginning that you're not big on like what will you do in 5 years because it's very rigid, but let's just put it out there. What is something, or what is your big dream? What is like the big thing that you want to accomplish next?
The big thing is not next. The big thing is what I feel like I'm here for as a lifelong journey, and that's really to change the face of the education system. It's really to open and broaden how we're educating our children and our youth, and really focusing more on the holistic individual instead of just developing the intellectual quotient, the IQ. Is that even what IQ stands for? I don't even know. I think it's just even so insignificant. I think we need to focus on the EQ. We need to focus on the SQ, which is actually measuring our spiritual quotient. We need to bring all aspects of who we are into our lives and let that measure who we are. We need to be educating less. Well, we still need to focus on the curriculum, but we need to bring new elements into the curriculum. I want to see health and wellness a staple in every single school. I want to see these tools and these strategies being taught to young people from the get-go, so that 20, 30 years from now, we have leaders that are passionately stepping into what it is that they're doing, that are fulfilled in what they're doing, that are being driven by something bigger than just money and power. They're being driven by purpose. They're being driven by service. They're being driven by passion. That is what's going to change systems in this world. How am I going to get there? I'm in the process of creating an online community that's going to have a place for all of the schools that I go around and speak to. It's now going to have a place for these youth to come and communicate and share with each other and have access to additional resources and online training programs and the ability to upload their own stories and their own highs and their own lows, and really create a support network for each other while also tapping into these experts in various different fields, providing that support and guidance for them.
Well, that is a goal worth having. You know what I mean? That is something, your goal is to essentially change the system, change the way the world is running. And I mean, that is something worth spending your life fighting for, or not fighting for, just working towards.
Good choice of word.
Yeah.
We're not
fighting. We're not fighting. Well, Michael, where can everyone connect with you? Because I know this is not something you can do alone. How can we support you? How can we reach out? Where can we find you?
Well, you can go to my website, www.youthwellnessnetwork.ca. You can find out all about what the organization is doing, the various different programs. If you're looking for an inspirational speaker for your organization or for your school. I work with youth of all ages, elementary all the way up to college and university. I also speak at conferences on education. I work with teachers and training teachers and how to bring principles of empowerment into their classrooms. I train parents on how to not only develop a more conscious and supportive relationship with their kids, but how to raise kids in a more conscious way, how to bridge that gap, how to truly understand their kids. You can purchase the book. It's called Empowered Youth, A Father and Son's Journey to Conscious Living, online, amazon.com or .ca, or any major retailer. You can get it at Chapters Indigo. If you're in the US, you can get it at Barnes & Noble. You can also find more information about the book on my website. You can talk to Gwen about getting a free copy of the book. And if you're interested in the mentorship program, you can email me directly. You can reach me at Michael, Michael, at youthwellnessnetwork.ca.
Michael, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your energy and your passion. And I mean, honestly, it's like you're just getting started. So who knows where we'll see you in a couple of years. And just thank you so much for sharing. And we'll make sure that we'll send out all the details about getting a free copy of this autographed book from both Michael and Jeffrey.
Gwen, I just want to leave it on one quick note. For anybody out there who's looking to start something big, okay, the three most important things are this: discover your passion, live from purpose, and have trust and faith that where you are being directed is exactly where you're supposed to be going.
I got that. I feel you. That's good. Thank you so much. Awesome talking to you today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Wow. Just as you can see, it was a true pleasure to talk to Michael. And I mean, while I was talking to him, I just really did feel his passion and energy coming right at me. And I've just been reflecting on that conversation. And wouldn't it be amazing if everybody in the world could be that passionate about what they do? If everyone was that passionate and excited and energized about what they do, the world would truly be a better place. And I thought it was very interesting just about the synchronicity that he encountered. And a big shout out to Cheryl Richardson, because she was kind of a champion of him when he was just starting out, when he just posted something on her Facebook page and she called him out in a huge room full of people. And that really helped to start off his career. So just a reminder to everyone that you could be that champion for someone. You could be someone who has a platform and can really help get somebody started. So just a big shout out and much gratitude and appreciation to Cheryl Richardson, because hey, if she didn't help him, we wouldn't be talking to Michael today. And we have a really fun idea. So I have an autographed copy of Michael Eisen's book, Empowered Youth, A Father and Son's Journey to Conscious Living, and we would love to give it away. Our first big giveaway on the show. And Michael and I were brainstorming about what could we ask people to answer. And we'll be picking someone randomly from our responses that we receive on Facebook and Twitter. And here's the question. If there was one thing that you could transform about this world, what would it be and why? If there was one thing that you could transform about the world, what would it be and why? Please post your responses on Facebook at facebook.com/startsomething.big. Tweet to me specifically at Gwen Elliott, GwenElliot, or tweet to Michael at YouthWellNet, YOUTHWELLNET, or facebook.com/YouthWellnessNetwork. I know that's a lot, but we'll put it on all the social media sites so that you can remember, and just all it takes is a simple answer. We really are just trying to inspire action, and without action, you can't start. Nothing really starts in your head. So we really just want to be here to help you really get to where you want to be. So this comes to the end of our show today. Thank you again. Thank you so much for listening.